So you did watch Raw, right?
I don't watch the show, Travis. Why would I watch the show?
Uh, because unlike Brock, you don't have that kind of swagger, my friend.
But Paul has a contract with me, but he has a contract with you that allows him to have a contract with me. So.
Boom, we're live. What's up, everybody? Smarkdown Radio. I'm Travis. B double brother Bob here with you, and as you can tell, we're talking a little Monday Night Raw. If you checked out our couple of clips we posted when we were actually building out the studios, you can see we've got the audio working, and it's now the silky smooth sounds of jazz like Duke Silver.
Yeah, the echo in the last couple of videos was not ideal.
No, not good. Hopefully this will be better, and we'll continually try to tweak things up and improve your viewing and listening experience. So if you want to get at us live on the show today, there's a couple ways to do that. You can email us, smarkdownradio@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at smarkdownradio, or if you want to harass Brother Bob here, at cpbuff22 is his direct Twitter. So let's start, since we started with Raw, Bob. What did you think about Raw? Because I know what everybody else in the IWC seems to think about Raw.
I know. I thought it was a bit of a mess, but at least it was a fun mess. I actually was entertained. I'm pretty sure after that quote from Brock, he is now my spirit animal. That's exactly how I feel about Raw.
Brock Lesnar is Brother Bob's Patronus. That's what we've learned. So we joked about him not watching the show, which was completely the wrong thing to say. Like, I absolutely agree that was the wrong thing for him to say. I understood what he was going for. What he was going for was that I'm not on the show, so why would I pay attention? But when your champ's like, I don't watch the show, Paul, why would I watch the show? And you already have dwindling viewer ratings, probably not the best decision in the world.
Especially in the context of he's at the show, he's not watching. Paul's like, didn't you hear what Roman just said? And he's like, I don't watch the show. And I'm like, you're at the show. There are like a million monitors there. You can stand sideways and look at a monitor.
Clearly. Man,
I didn't want to crick his neck.
Yeah. But it did give way to all the hilarious memes. I saw the one where he was put side by side reading the magazine with the Happy Gilmore drunk chicks picture. There was people. Sable Playboy was another big one. There was some good young buck trolling from the IWC too, where they were doing some stuff like that.
Children's book.
Yeah, like Raw. So, all right, it was not a good show. Like, I can't really defend the show. There were parts of it that were not awful, but I don't know, man. Like, these people that overreact and say it was the worst Raw in history. Every week is the worst Raw in history. I'm like, am I the? I know. Okay,
I watched Raw in the 90s.
Yeah, Raw circa like 93 through 95 or whatever. Like those pre-Attitude Era Raw, man. I was looking through some of the results where your main event was like Owen Hart and Yokozuna versus a couple of jobbers. Yep. That was your main event when they were tag team champions. Yeah, and maybe you would get like an appearance by one other name, like Razor Ramon move to WCW or whatever. Yep. But it was a bunch of jobbers, and it was atrocious, man. Or like, back in the Duke the Dumpster Drozy days and Repo Man. I get it if you're like, sub 30 and you're saying this is the worst Raw ever. Okay. You didn't experience it. You didn't live through the worst Raws ever.
And honestly, they've had a few shows in the last year that have been really bad, and I would say are some of the worst shows they've done in the past like 20 years. And this show wasn't as bad as those shows.
No.
It has to be taken into context. I just wonder how many people who do it's the worst Raw ever decide to like take that. Well, finally, I'm going to come back and watch Raw because Brock Lesnar's on, or finally, I'm going to do it for this reason. And then the show is terrible, and they're like, worst Raw ever.
Worst Raw ever.
Only watch once every 6 months.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. Specifically when your champ's saying stuff like that. All right, so I don't know. It leaked, a month ago now, that Heyman was taking a more active role in creative.
Yes.
They had kind of like after that they had hit a low rating. They hit another low rating the first week that he was quote unquote in charge of creative, but I think that's just hangover, so to speak. But I haven't heard any reports that he's been removed from that more active role, and I don't know. It felt more like I like the direction that they're trying to go. The problem is they've so damaged Roman to this point that a lot of fans just don't care. If this were anybody else, anyone else,
if this was Braun, or if this was Rollins,
like
Baylor,
because you can't tell me like, well, let's talk about the good parts of Raw. I legitimately, I popped sitting there watching when Roman smacked the crap out of Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
That was hilarious, man. And I like the angle, and Paul is doing good work.
Unfortunately, they're using Finn to get
Baron Corbin over,
which is terrible. But
I don't like the Constable Corbin. I didn't like Baron Corbin before the change when he was Lone Wolf Baron Corbin, and now he's Constable Corbin, and they finally shaved his head. Like those, apparently the internet pictures of calling him Venom when the symbiote with his hair attaching to his scalp got around enough.
If he wouldn't come out with wet hair and would go the AJ Styles route, it would look better.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, well,
but,
people were and I felt bad for him.
Wet hair in WWE.
I felt bad for him a little bit though, because people were like, "Oh, that look will never get over," and I was like, just tweet a picture of Hulk Hogan. It got over, promise. It's not the look. It's the overall gimmick and his in-ring work.
He needed a Corbin Mania do-rag.
Brother. I wasn't a big fan of Corbin. The directions, they made him look really weak, failing his cash in with Money in the Bank, and I mean, wow.
The problem, them doing that was at a terrible time because he was actually starting to gain a little bit of momentum, and then they just pulled the rug out from under him.
Yeah,
they do that a lot up in WWE. I don't understand.
And this is a guy that was supposed to be super high on Vince's list. Vince loved this guy, and maybe that's kind of why they're trying to repackage him, because Vince felt he fell flat. I don't know. But I don't really, if you're going to repackage a guy that quickly and that drastically, maybe take him off TV for a couple months at least, not just kind of segue into this Constable Corbin thing. But they're using one of their best in-ring performers in the company right now to get him over. And they had that match at the last pay-per-view, and it told that it told that small guy persevering over the big guy story, but almost to excess. If you go back and watch that entire match, Finn really I felt it diminished him. It made Baron Corbin look strong.
Well,
I have a feeling that's what was said.
In a company that has a perception, fair or not, it most likely is, that the owner and head of, final say of creative, prefers larger, bigger guys in the ring, pushing an angle where the big guy is picking on the little guy because the little guy is little and the big guy is big, and that is the entire point to the feud, seems almost a little too on point. You shouldn't be bringing attention to the size difference if your company has a negative connotation of, they only push the big guys. And I don't understand WWE's concept of all right, so we're going to put Corbin and Finn Balor in a feud, and we're going to make it that Finn's not as tall as Baron Corbin. That'll get over. And I don't understand.
I don't get it either. And this is the guy that pre-injury, you put the Universal title on, and apparently we're going to give a real good run to. And he suffered his injury, but ever since then it's been really hit or miss. He hasn't. I mean, Finn consistently performs in the ring. He's amazing in the ring. He's one of those guys. We talked about that before, just briefly about talent getting over. In one of our shorties before we kicked the show off officially, when you have that collection of talent that the WWE has, and they have a huge collection of talent. They're paying all the guys that have all the talent. You're gonna get a good in-ring product, and that boggles me that they can't find a way to get people invested in this really good in-ring product. Like, I understand it's not the same as like New Japan or Ring of Honor or whatever, but like, let's not act like the overall. Of course, there's a few stinkers here and there. We know that, but the overall product in the ring is really high level. They've got all these phenomenal talents there. The reason it gets shit on is because they're giving us like storylines that we don't care about. It goes back to Roman being as damaged as he is. I like the way they're going with Brock. Like he's turning on Paul. He's turned on the crowd. Beat up Angle. No cares given. Doesn't want to be at the show. Would rather be at UFC. That'll make you a heel. Clearly, that's getting him over as a heel. But the problem is again, Roman is just so damaged and in such a bad place from the last, really 3 or 4 years of booking, and their determination to push him face regardless of how much the crowd rejects him. This storyline, I like the storyline. I loved Paul's work last night. I loved Angle's work. There was a lot of little individual bright spots, but that overall picture is diminished because that people other than the kids and the women, because that's what it was. And that was a friendly crowd. They were in Miami. And that's a friendly crowd. Like, you're not going to get that reaction in New York in 3 weeks. That's just not going to happen because that's the smarkiest smart fans. They are going, they pay that big money to go to a pay-per-view, and especially if they put that match on in the main event spot. Yeah. If they are stupid enough to put that match on in the final spot,
I really hope
the walkout.
I really hope.
Yeah, I mean, you get the walkout. Well, but then people, I think Vince is teasing. And it was a hilarious little cartoon snippet, like meme snippet I saw, where they talked about putting it on in the last spot and teasing a cash in so that everybody stays in, and then not having Braun cash it in so Vince could have his nice big laugh and be like, ha ha ha, I made you stay.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this cash in too. The fact that you basically had a month of TV that's worthless right now, and a lot of the excitement is going to be completely gone because the whole point of the Money in the Bank is that they can cash in anytime. And so now you're going to go into all these shows and you're taking away a portion of the show that, not only is the freaking, Universal Champion never there, but now when you're actually going to have him on a few shows, we're going to have Braun defend his briefcase at, SummerSlam against Kevin Owens, so he can't cash it in until after that defense. And you're like, well, that takes all these appearances by Brock Lesnar where you're like, maybe they'll cash in. That whole, possibility is taken off the table, which to me is a stupid move because you're already trying to build interest in Brock and keeping fans' eyes on him when they're already upset that he's never on the program. To take away a possibility of a cash in, is going to disinterest people more.
Well, and I mean, it's just it seems like they consistently miss. Like, I felt like, look, they give Lashley a clean win over Roman at a pay-per-view, and then he comes back and Roman beats him. So they do 50-50 booking to get Roman back in that's going to solve the problem. Like, they mishandled
50-50 booking,
well,
which is a
that's a problem too.
In general, I mean, you can't. Even Roman Reigns, the guy they want them to get over, they're 50-50 booking him, and how are fans supposed to be interested in somebody if they don't gain any momentum? Like, so, and if somebody beats Roman, is it supposed to be a big deal now because he loses in a 50-50 basis, just like Finn Balor, just like the Revival, just like, Bobby Roode, everybody like on the roster is put in a 50-50 booking situation. So you don't have anybody. If they beat them, it's a big deal. Not even Cena anymore. Cena's being, has been booked fairly the same way. Who do you put out there to beat where it's a big deal? You got Brock, which now it's really not. We know he's going to the UFC, so they waited too long to pull the trigger there where it's a big deal. We kind of all know it's coming, and they had Undertaker lose at Mania. That's a big deal, but he's lost, so that's over. Who's the guy you have a new guy you want to get over? Who's the guy you haven't beat? Everybody's got the same, record. Everybody's 50-50. I know WWE likes to talk about, wins and losses not mattering, but they do matter. They matter to everybody watching who is tired of seeing 6 matches between guys where they split them and then go their own way. And you're like, well, we had no conclusion to this rivalry because they just split this feud. I mean, it's not definitive in any way, and it causes people to lose interest in it.
Yeah, it's there are several levels of problem there, and it as a fan, and we're we're not experts, we're fans. We're talking from a fan's perspective. I want to see exciting stuff. I mean, we lived, through the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, and
speaking of Attitude Era, could you imagine if they did this then? So Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out one week and loses, and then comes out the next week, and then stuns Vince McMahon and beats him up, and then comes out the next week
and loses.
Vince beats him up, and then come out there would be no build. You never would have had a Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The only time Stone Cold lost was when he was outnumbered 5-1, and he didn't lose actual matches. He'd get beat up, and but that goes back to
or he gets screwed out of the match somehow by management or something.
Yeah.
In a wonky way, and then beat the crap out of them afterwards to look still incredibly strong. You wouldn't have this kind of booking that we do now.
Yeah. And that's across Rock, same thing. Rock and anybody that was getting pushed, and I saw some comments and listened to some content where they talked about Vince. Really, he didn't want to give the ball to one guy and let him run with it anymore because he thought it would be smarter business, and it ended up, creating an atmosphere where you have Brock as a part-timer who can come in and demand huge, exorbitant contract for 6 appearances a year, and because you don't have anybody to give the ball with and run
with the roster they have now. There is no reason that they should have to rely on Brock Lesnar. They should not have to rely on The Rock returning for matches. They should not have to rely on Jericho coming in for 3 to 6 months and leaving again. They shouldn't have to rely on these guys at this point. They have a roster of the guys they don't use.
It's an incredible roster.
The guys they don't use. You could take 15 guys from their roster who they don't put on TV, but maybe once a month. You could take 15 guys off that roster, start a new company, and be able to push for a TV deal with the product you're putting on, because that's how good the roster is.
Yeah, they've got crazy. They bought up all the talent. Well, that story is circulating right now that they offered Tommy Dreamer $1 million to shut down House of Hardcore.
Yeah.
Because they just don't want competition. And yeah. I wouldn't even call House of Hardcore competition.
Yeah, I think anything that's going to create new stars that isn't them doing it, they don't like.
Yeah.
And that's why they keep buying up this competition and sending them to NXT beforehand. I don't think, AJ Styles didn't go through NXT. Gallows and Anderson didn't go through NXT. But for some reason, we got Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and these other guys who have been in the industry long enough to not need to be in NXT. Eric Young, Bobby Roode, who don't. There's no need for them. They've been on national TV.
Let me ask you a question though, Bob.
They could have went right to Raw. But I think the reason they're putting them on NXT is so they can say, these are our guys. We made these guys in NXT.
But how much of those guys going to NXT are them also not minding? I think everybody wants to go to Raw and SmackDown, try to headline, right? That if you're an ambitious, not everybody, but probably 75-80% of the people in the business have an ego big enough where they want to do that, and that's good. They want to be the top person.
Yeah.
Of course, you hear about there's some people that are okay just collecting a check and doing what they do, and they love it and they like the work and stuff, but they don't necessarily want to do that. But that next level, the superstars, the high level in any industry, they're the ones that really want to excel. they can go get their stuff over in NXT and they can have these matches. And I feel we'll talk about and look at Tyler Breeze. You know, got pulled up to the main roster. They didn't do anything with him. They didn't know what the hell to do with him. They tried a slew of different, the Breeze Dongo and this and that, and now he's back in NXT. And looking better than ever. Like that clip that's going around of him and Adam Cole is hilarious. Did you see that one yet?
I have not.
Oh, dude, it's great. They have like a little interaction. Adam Cole hits him with Adam Cole baby, and then they have another interaction. And they kind of stop, and Tyler Breeze, baby, and the whole crowd just loses it, and they go back and forth, and it's great, man. It's really good stuff. And he's again a smaller guy, but you go back and watch some of his NXT work, in his original run in NXT. It was great, man. That dude's got a motor.
He's one of those guys I was talking about. Like, him and Fandango are guys who can go and could be top guys on.
Tell CM Punk to stand up,
dude. Quit quit shooting on Punk over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be next to Hogan.
Yeah.
I can't blame him.
Oh, brother. But I think a lot of the guys go to NXT because, especially the guys who were in TNA and Impact, because they did the indie thing for a long time. A lot of traveling. A lot of those guys like Eric Young and Bobby Roode out of Canada. That's a lot of traveling, and they got in a situation with, I can only assume, TNA, and stayed there as long as they did because, the money wasn't always great, and the product wasn't always great in TNA, but it was a fixed location. They did have a fairly fixed schedule, which would allow time with family and other things, and they're not super young guys anymore. They've been in the business a while, so I can see, instead of going New Japan or Ring of Honor or back to the Indies, them going to NXT just for the fact of, you have a fairly, steady shooting schedule. When you're going to be on the road. You're not going to be traveling overseas. You're going to be staying primarily in the U.S., except for the few tours they do. So it's an easier schedule than, being on the Indies and having to, travel everywhere. And I can see wanting that after having years of, being in the business. We look at the guys in like New Japan and Ring of Honor now, with the exception of like Chris Jericho, who is crazy and will apparently appear in every organization. With the exception of him, most of these guys are younger guys who can afford to, do that kind of traveling and, spend that time away and, are doing it to make money because they can. Cody maybe is the one other exception to that, but for the most part, they're all younger guys. So I think that's why WWE is able to buy up so much talent that they were able to buy up. If a lot of the guys just didn't want to have that kind of schedule, because we've seen recently you can make as much on the indies as you can with WWE. So, especially at the level of NXT and stuff. But to be fair, we don't know exactly what these guys are getting. Like, this is all
you can go look you can find it out because WWE's publicly traded company, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to pull through. But there are guys, the top guys on the indies now are able to make a comfortable living. And if you have that passion for wrestling and you like controlling your character to a degree and being able to, book your own matches, things like that, the indies is really appealing to stay there. There's not that instant, hey, I got to go to WWE. I got to get there like tomorrow. You notice like AJ's a good example, and he's the one example of a guy who, worked at Impact. He was an Impact guy, worked the indies, and then came to WWE. He's the one that made it big because like other than him, some guys have had success, but let's not sugarcoat it. Like a lot of guys who've gone that route, WWE really hasn't done a lot with them. They've done okay. Bobby Roode's done all right, right? Like, all right. But, AJ's the guy. Like, he's the shining example of what you want to be. If you take that road, AJ's AJ's
AJ
at the
is
tail end of the prime of his career. That's not taking anything away from him, but AJ's not 32. AJ's not 28. AJ's in the twilight of the prime of the career. He could take that big money offer. He got a big money offer from WWE. He had faith in himself. He had already done all the stuff everywhere else. Why not take the shot? If it doesn't work out, you're going to get your money and you're going to be able to go back in 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it worked out for him. And now he's making, his merch money's got to be absurd.
Yeah. Well, going back to the 50-50 booking, AJ is one of those few guys they're not doing that.
Yeah,
with.
No, he wins clean a lot.
He's getting, he's losing matches that are non-title matches, but he's on a winning streak title match wise, and he's held that belt for longer than most people expected. Everybody expected him to drop it to Nakamura at WrestleMania, so he is overachieving at the moment, and hopefully my hope is that they push him to beat Brock Lesnar's record with the Universal title, with that WWE title, because I really don't want Brock Lesnar to be like that whole
so
part-time guy being the longest reigning champion thing.
So CM Punk Mark Extraordinaire over here, Mr. Bob, like, would you be okay with AJ surpassing Punk's
with his work ethic?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine. Like, the problem with it is a guy who's wrestled 10 times.
Yeah, like
period,
that's yeah. Like we can all agree that having Brock not wrestle has been really, it's frustrating at times as a fan. So before we kind of move away from Raw and get to a little bit of SmackDown, I have to pose the question: what in the world are they doing with this Braun Strowman Kevin Owens thing? Because like I don't get it. Like I want to like, is this Vince? Like, it was reported 2 months ago or so that Vince told KO, lose weight or you're going to the mid card forever. Yeah. Is this like where we're headed with that? Like Braun's going to beat him up again. Like, and they're not completely jobbing him out, but like they're making him look, like if they wanted to do this right, I feel like, KO would be kind of getting over on Braun in dastardly, dirty, underhanded ways. But anytime there was a straight fight, like he runs away afraid. And I don't want to see my chicken shit heels run away afraid. I want to see them run away like, oh yeah, you ain't getting me. Like that. Yeah. And I think anybody who's been watching wrestling for a while understands the difference. You don't run screaming in terror. Like that's not what I want to see.
My imagination tells me that like Vince was walking backstage and opened a door, and it was Kevin Owens' locker room, and Kevin's there standing with his shirt off. And Vince like, good God, man, put a shirt on, damn it! Man. And then it like triggered one of Vince's many issues that he has with all the things, or maybe Kevin Owens sneezed in front of him. I don't know, but Vince is like, lose some weight, or we're gonna put you in a porta potty and tip it over. Like, yeah, it's. I
mean, because like KO, dude, like. He's one of those guys. He's one of the top talents on the roster on any brand in the world. Like this guy is just, he consistently delivers in the ring. He talks so much trash. Like he is, and he's good at it. He's willing to take huge bumps. He's willing to, go out there and do what he needs to do to sell a match and get over. And he's likable and hateable both, depending on which of those throttles he decides to like really, and that's a rare thing. Like there are not a lot, like you'll hear as you watch shows, you're gonna hear me talk about hateable qualities, and you just look at a guy and you're like, I don't like that dude. Like Roman's a natural heel. You look at him and he's got a hateable quality. Yep. Elias kind of has that. I know it's cool to yell walk with Elias, and that's kind of but like Elias has that. You look at him and you're like, man, you just look like a heel. And there's a handful of those guys out there, but to have both, the last great one was really Rock, I think. Jericho's a guy, but Jericho's getting into that point where he's like into legend status, and he can go be heel in Japan and be an amazing heel, but like you still, it's hard to cheer against Jericho because he is one of the greatest of all time.
He was a heel with Owens when Owens was a heel there in WWE. And
yeah, the list was pretty but I mean that's running its course. Like it's running, time's running out on that. I don't know how many more times.
You're saying that's it?
Why not? Anyway, I'm just gonna move on. I get this is what I have to deal with. I just don't like the way they're building up to this Braun Owens thing. Like, unless they just swerve us, like, and have Owens come out of SummerSlam with that briefcase. Like, I mean, that would legitimately shock me.
I mean, the big shocker would be KO winning the briefcase
and then cashing in. Yeah,
but,
I don't think that's happening. But like that's why I said I would legitimately be shocked if either one, let alone both. If both of those happened, I'd be like, what in the hell did we just see? That'd be insane.
Maybe people would actually watch Raw the next night.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe people would actually see. That's what I'm saying. They got to see if they can get people to watch to the end of the pay-per-view, depending on how they book out that pay-per-view.
Yep.
So
well, I mean, if everybody leaves, they'll watch Raw the next night, or maybe all the people who were in attendance will drop the $9.99 for the WWE Network afterwards. They'll get an extra $10
we'll
out of
see.
all those ticket holders.
SmackDown, however, we got some good news on SmackDown. According to the internet, especially the internet full of Becky Lynch fans, last night was a disaster. But for me, for someone like myself, it was great news. The Queen is back from injury. Great to see her back. I'm complete Mark.
They need to do something with Becky Lynch, or like, I don't know, let her go somewhere where she can do something. She deserves to have something going on, and that's like every time something starts, like they pull the rug out from under.
They've squandered Becky. Like I like Becky a lot. Like, and that's
Becky retired for a time. Like, she quit wrestling before getting that tryout with WWE and then being signed by the company. She quit wrestling. She'd given up on it. So this is like that second chance, and she's proven all kind of naysayers wrong. And here's WWE squandering like the perfect like underdog story while trying to create one with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I really like Becky a lot. And the only reason that I'm celebrating this is because I'm a complete mark for Charlotte. Like but she really does. I don't know what's the storyline here. Like, you got to get that belt off Carmella, right? Like, I mean, nobody likes her, and it's not in a good way where people want to see her beat up. They just don't want her on your. I mean, there's a handful. I see a handful of Carmella fans here and there, but I don't really.
Carmella.
Okay, well then maybe you can talk about it, because I don't want her on my TV. I'm kind of indifferent, and that's never good. Hate is good. Indifference is not good.
They need to keep Ellsworth off of the TV.
Well, he's gone, right? Yeah. Like that's happened. God. So.
That's something that they should have focused on a while ago. After he left the first time, he should have just stayed away. They shouldn't have brought him back and had any involvement, because he doesn't bring anything to the women's division. You want to push like the women's revolution and things, and instead of focusing on the women, you're focusing on like this guy, and that's and everybody brings it up. The internet's like, oh my God, remember when Ellsworth won the first women's Money in the Bank? Like, nobody's forgotten this. And WWE trying to kayfabe it, but having him out there is not helping Carmella or any of the other ladies. And I think Carmella has done a good job as champion. I think she is like that overconfident, but then like, she comes off as overconfident, when she goes out there talking about how great she is, but then she's like that cowardly heel who kind of runs away. Yeah. And I like that combination. It's not done as often in WWE. Usually, I mean, Kevin Owens had that character for a bit where he came out and talked a big game, but then was cowardly.
But they let him back it up at times. I mean, when you gotta think, like when Kevin Owens came out and had that match with Cena in a champion versus champion, what was that, 2015, right? And they put him over. Yeah, Cena got his wins back afterwards, but they put him over, and they put him over in a big way. And that was that's a match like if you want to go back and watch what I would call a A+ WWE match. Like that's one of them. Like go watch that match. That was a great match. And for a while they were really he was chicken shitty, but like it was when push came to shove, he found a way to get shit done. And that's kind of what I think WWE loses sight on.
So the women's division, specifically on SmackDown, is really, really strong, and I think they're at the point where it's similar to the men on Raw back in the Attitude Era, but they haven't been treating it the same. When you had Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, like all the Mick Foley, all these guys on top at the same time. Throughout the year, there were a lot of like triple threat title matches, fatal 4-way title matches, because they understand the talent they had. They knew they didn't have anything else to do with these guys who should be in the title picture. So why not put them in the title picture? Where in this situation, you have Carmella as champion, and instead of having a fatal 4-way with her, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Asuka, and letting one of the other girls hit that finisher and her steal the pin, things of that nature, to keep her at that cowardly heel who's conniving. Instead, they're doing these one-on-one matches with her running away all the time, and it's not doing justice to the other talent either. They're giving her a bunch of one-on-ones with like super over talent who she should be. I mean, legitimately, her going up against Charlotte or Asuka, she should be a cowardly heel at this point because they're both like super dominant wrestlers.
Right.
So that kind of fits the story. So I think they got themselves in a situation where they have, with all the talent they have, having her as champion, she kind of has to be that cowardly.
So specifically in this scenario where they're going to have the triple threat, would it behoove? I think Carmella needs to drop the belt to one of them. And then it sets up a title match moving forward, hopefully maybe for Evolution or something. Because let's face it, like I want to see Charlotte and Becky in a match together for the title. I don't really care if that's the long-term, quote unquote, WWE's idea of a long-term plan. I'm really good with that. Like, especially if it's Becky beating Carmella and Charlotte not involved in the decision. That way Charlotte can chase the title again. Yeah. And then Becky gets her time, and it can be it doesn't have to be a straight heel face thing. It can be a who's the better wrestler sort of thing. And those work as long as it's not the only thing you're doing. Yep. But I think in that case, people would, that would be an amazing main event for their Evolution pay-per-view, which they've got to start thinking about, in my opinion. Because who really are you going to put in that who's going to main event that? That's going to be a big deal, man. Like whoever the women are that gets that main event, that's a big deal.
I'm really hoping that they go the route of the women's tag titles, like has been rumored a bit on and off. I think that would give the talent something else to do. Yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of women on the roster, and not all of them have something to do. Alicia Fox being a great example with her showing up on TV for what feels like the first time in the last 5 years. It's been a long time since we've seen.
We completely skipped over Ronda, but that's because I feel like we kind of know what's going to happen there.
Dare you skip over Ronda?
I mean, it's
not a good idea.
It gets hard because there's so much content to cover, man. But when she does something in the ring, it's next level, man. And anybody who watches Brock in a match, when he hits that fifth gear, you know what I'm talking about? When he's, especially after he's been done selling, and then he flips that switch, I'm back, and he'll do a standing switch. And it's so fast, it's faster than a lot of cruiserweights would do it. And you're like, a human that big should not be able to move like that. She has that kind of power in the women's division. And I hate comparing her to Brock and this is one of the ways I defend her is every indication that I keep seeing long term, she's going to be a full-time wrestler. This is what she wants to do. They're trying to bring her along slowly. She had to do the UFC Hall of Fame induction. She had to promote her movie, things like she's got her other commitments, but it sounds like she's going to be around 7 or 8 months a year.
Yeah.
Which that's to me, I'm like, okay, if you're other guys, take off a month or two to go shoot here and there, and that's okay.
If you have more people only wrestling 8 months a year, you might actually see some talent move around and less injuries.
I like that idea too. That way you can. But if she's going 8 months a year, it almost makes me feel bad for the other women because she is so athletically dominant. Like the way she moves, because she's a real fighter. Okay, she's a good example. Shayna Baszler's a good example. These people who are legit fighters, but Ronda was like a next level fighter. She's like, she is the women's equivalent of a Brock or, a Angle, or those guys were so amazing in the ring. Brock's amazing in the ring. Angle was and still can, give you a very solid performance in the ring, even with his, injuries in his neck and things like that. The way she throws the women around is just absurd in the best possible way. It is amazing. It's believable when she beats up guys. Like I have if she's beating on a guy, I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. But we know where that's going. Like she's probably going to get the belt.
Well, so here's a question. You mentioned main event for Evolution and what we think it's going to be. Do we think that we might see Charlotte win the SmackDown Women's title and Ronda win the Raw Women's title and then them face off at Evolution? Or do you think they're going to save that match for WrestleMania?
I think they save that match for WrestleMania because it's already been announced that all the women's titles, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT, are going to be defended at Evolution. That was one of the things they specifically said. All 3 titles are going to be defended at that pay-per-view. And obviously, if they're doing champion versus champion, that's not going to happen unless they shuffle people around. But they do that too much. They shuffle and it makes no sense. Like all of a sudden, somebody will just show up on a brand, and you're like, "Oh, Joe's on SmackDown. look at that." So, although that could be the show-stealing match at SummerSlam, right? Like those two guys.
Yeah.
AJ and Joe.
Yeah, it's definitely the most appealing match on that card thus far. And it's the one that most of your internet base wants to see. So hopefully it will deliver the same kind of matches they delivered in TNA and Ring of Honor, because those were classics.
Here's the question: do we get Willow or Brother Nero at SummerSlam?
Oh God. Probably not.
Probably not. Well, heel Randy Orton's good for business.
Yeah.
Especially heel Randy Orton taking shots at Bullet Club and stuff. That's pretty good. I'm good with that.
I just would like to see them do something different with Randy Orton. Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, or Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar feud would be great, and I would be all for it.
The last time that
being on SmackDown does nothing for me. There's nobody on SmackDown I want to see him.
The last time he was in the ring with Brock, he got wrecked. So you can't really go back to that. Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. You've got heel Shinsuke and heel Orton beating up poor Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is this. Are they going to break up the Deleters of Worlds and bring Matt over to SmackDown to bring out? I don't know. Who knows what they're going to do?
Somebody off the roster they're not using and be like, oh, him and Jeff
have been friends
for a long time. They're like besties.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just random.
That's what they do.
Yeah, because Vince doesn't believe in tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
So.
Or story continuity.
Occasionally, or only in the main event, kinda
non-scripted promos, or
not
making Roman look strong.
I mean, SmackDown. So I think once we get to 2019, and I know that's a long way off, but once we get to SmackDown on Fox, Fox is going to demand real competition against Raw. They're not paying $500 million to lose.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on what that contract says, because unless Fox puts some worthwhile stipulations in that contract that said that they can make like specific demands as far as product. I mean, because obviously
there's got to be like
USA's not freaking making any demands as far as product quality because we've been seeing terrible product nonstop in the last year.
Well, you've got to assume that with paying that much money, there's some, you know, they're not just gonna arbitrarily pay half a billion with a B.
You got to remember that Fox was in the middle of a bidding war between Disney and Comcast, and so buying up as many properties and as many assets as possible raised the amount of money that the company could then sell for. They don't have a worry. Like this Disney deal's gone through; it's been approved. By the time WWE appears on Fox, it will be officially being run by the Disney company. And at that point...
Does that mean Roman can be a Disney princess?
I think Roman is a princess. But, I think at that point, you know, kind of all bets are off. Like, we have no idea, like what Disney's doing with any of their properties that they're buying. Like, there's no real. The only thing that's even been hinted at is that there are plans for Galactus and Silver Surfer in the Marvel universe. That is the only thing that's been mentioned as far as what's happening with these properties.
It'll be interesting to see. So, I mean, SmackDown. I think SmackDown consistently puts on better in-ring product.
Absolutely.
What else is new? Like,
well, I mean, you got AJ Styles. So.
Well, but although, like I said, if the reports are true and Heyman really is doing more creatively over there, you could probably see, you know, if he is Paul's problem's never been booking. Paul's problem was the business side of things and dealing with networks.
He's also limited to what kind of things he can book because it not being a direct-to-video pay-per-view type market and being a television market, he's gonna have to tone down some of the content. And
Paul did fine when he was booking, you know, SmackDown against Raw before. So like we know he is a creative. He's a mad genius, man. He's got some skills. So it'll be interesting to see where we go in the next couple of weeks leading into SummerSlam.
Biggest party of the summer
and NXT takeover. That'll be. I'm looking forward to that way more than anything.
I think they need to drop that biggest party of the summer tagline because, you know, All In is like the first week of September, which is like the end of summer, and I think that's going to be a bigger party.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Well, I get it. Like you're a mark for All In, and All In's going to be great, but like. Let's take it down a quarter of a notch and be realistic. But the tagline's stupid. Like I'm not disagreeing.
It's a week-long party considered to a 2-day one. Yeah.
So NXT though, like I mean, it's probably gonna outshine SummerSlam, right? Because we're gonna get Adam Cole Ricochet.
Yeah.
Like that right there is gonna be better than anything on and I to be fair, I watched the last episode. I watched was the Ciampa Black title match. So and that was last week, right? God, it all blends together so hard. So I got to watch tonight when it's on tonight. But I think we're gonna get like Black Ciampa Gargano 3-way for the title. That's that sounds probably what we're gonna get. Really, like you're gonna get that, and you're getting Ricochet, Adam Cole. Plus, you're going to get probably a 3 or 4-way for the tag titles because Undisputed Era has pissed off everybody. Yeah. And War Machine's there. War Raiders. Yes. They're War Machine. God damn it. Yeah. Still War Machine to me. God damn it. So,
and once again, I got to pose that question: like, is there any faction other than maybe the Four Horsemen who have like done more in a 10-year span than the Bullet Club? I mean,
well, no, they really like Bullet Club's. But Bullet Club's interesting.
You got AJ on top on SmackDown. You got Finn Balor on Raw. You got Adam.
They've
Cole.
produced a lot of but it's a different time. It's hard to compare the eras, but like,
every major wrestling organization has somebody who's been in the Bullet Club is like one of their top.
I've got to give them credit for finding a way to keep the Bullet Club relevant and keep it going when you have, Finn who left and you had, AJ leave, and every time one of their major components leaves, they bring in somebody kind of to replace them, and that's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, you've seen Adam Cole leave on the same night as he left, in the same segment that he left, the introduction of Marty Scurll to the group. So I mean, they have a plan. They execute it well, and I think as long as WD doesn't buy up all of the talent, you'll probably continue to see them do so.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. G1. I mean, like we've spent a little, almost an hour, right? We started a little bit late. We were finishing up the audio, so we didn't start right at noon, which we definitely apologize for. But now it's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem as long as Bob doesn't pull too far away from his mic.
Yeah, I'm good.
G1, man, is if like you almost have to take vacation to watch this thing, right? Like, but it's good. Like the in-ring product is strong.
Yeah.
So, Bob, you've watched more of it than I have. I've been trying to catch. I haven't really watched a lot of the tag matches. I've been skipping those. I've been watching the actual G1 content as much as I can.
Yeah. For about the first week, I watched the entire show every day, and then like I got to a point where I was like I had stuff to do and a life to live, and then I was like 3 shows behind, and then I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna skip the tag matches so I can try to catch up. And yeah, it's a lot of content, man. 3 hours every day.
I just what we're looking up, obviously, as you can see. I've been watching it. The last day I watched was day 10, so I'm a little bit behind. That we do have day 12 results, and is this, Bob? Is this the day 12? Is this the day 12 results? Is this up to date?
This is up to date as of last night at like 2:00, because I think their show went online at 3:00.
So the answer,
it's one show off.
So this is through day 10, which is what we're talking about, and this is what you have is Block A and Block B, guys. If you're not familiar with the breakdown, it's a point system, 2 points. 1 point, 0 points, win, draw, loss.
Yep.
So, and it's broken up into 2 columns, Block A and Block B. And the guys, it's a round robin and generates top points getters, and then they fight for the whole shebang. So, as you can see here, no surprise in Block A, some of the names up top.
Block A
is loaded, man. It's good to see Suzuki getting some points finally. He was lagging a little bit, and it's good to see him up there in the mix. I'm a huge Minoru Suzuki mark.
Or Hangman Page.
Boo-hoo. I have no cares.
Hopefully the How to Win book will help him out, and he can eat that ham for protein. And before the match, and maybe pick up a few wins.
So
he definitely needs them.
You've got Tanahashi at 10 points, and then you have a slew of people at 8 points still in the mix. The Evil Jay White, who's had, he now holds victories over like the top 5 guys over there.
Yeah.
In the last 60 days.
Yeah. Jay White's been on a tear.
He's beaten Tanahashi, Omega, Naito, pretty much everybody in the last 60 days. So. Suzuki at 8, and then obviously Okada at 8. We fall off after there. Fale in the middle, and then
Fale always does good.
And then Elgin, etc., etc. In Block B, man, like in day 10, we'll get down to them in a minute, even though they're a little lower points. But you got Omega leading the way, and then Naito and Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., Ibushi and Ishii, man. That was the match I watched on day 10.
That was a good match.
Oh, you want to talk strong style? You want to talk about a strong style match, Bob? if you're only a fan of America, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're probably just a fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
So you probably know what I'm talking about. But man, that was wow, did those two guys go to war, and wow, did they beat the crap out of each other?
Sure did.
In that authentic Japanese strong style. That was a really good watch on day 10. What are some other really good ones on your list, Bob, that you'd go tell people to go back and check out?
So I'm just gonna read through. I just took a list of the matches that.
Jesus, Bob, I meant like 4 or 5, not 20.
Hey, dude, like when you have 3 to 4 matches per show over a 3-4 week period, they add up. But you'll recognize that these names cross over quite a bit. So I mean, it speaks to the talent of the individuals. The Switchblade match against Okada was fantastic. Switchblade Jay White versus Tanahashi was really good. Sonata and Toma Tonga was a great match. Omega and Naito was really good, and the fans were really into it.
Well, how do you not put those guys in a ring and have it be a really good match?
The Juice Robinson Tama Tonga match was really good. Juice has been on a losing streak, and we'll have to talk about that in a minute as well. But the Jack Sabre Jr. and Ibushi match, and then the Juice Robinson and Ibushi match, both of those were fantastic. Okada and Hangman was really good, man. Hangman Page, his stats don't show it, but he has he's a beast, man. And I think he's going to be one of those guys who, in a couple years, is going to be like contending for like the U.S. title in New Japan, and maybe even like ROH's world title or something. Like he's a fantastic wrestler. The Naito Juice Robinson match was also good. I mean, Juice Robinson's put on a lot of really good matches with a lot of good ring psychology. A lot of work with him trying to stop somebody from hurting his broken hand, and that's had a lot of story in the matches. On top of just fantastic wrestling ability. So. All of his matches have been impressive. The Tama Tonga Kenny Omega match was fantastic. There was interference. There was
rightfully so.
Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. You had
rightfully
the
so.
The Tongan faction versus the Kenny Omega faction of the Bullet Club. That was a fantastic match to check out. Switchblade and Suzuki was really good. Tama Tonga Naito. Omega and Juice Robinson. Once again, these guys, their names just can't keep. All
right. Last one, come on.
And Omega Sonata was pretty good as well. I mean, and Kenny Omega is a beast. He has been on a winning streak. He is trying to win the G1 undefeated and be the first champion to win the G1 since.
I don't remember either. It's okay, Bob.
Masahiro Chono.
There we go. Like, memory is not the gift I have. That's why I write everything down.
Yes. But, so that's what he's trying to do, and he's on his way. He's got 10 points. Where we have to talk about Juice Robinson because there's some interesting stuff going on there. Juice Robinson had so part of the G1 in general historically is if a champion goes in and loses a match in the G1. Oftentimes, the person he loses to will then challenge that champion for the title at an upcoming show. Juice Robinson, as you see, only has 2 points, which means he's losing to everybody. But in specific, the 3 big ones is he's lost to Naito, he's lost to Ibushi. So I'm like, those are huge. He lost to Tama Tonga. These are guys who are top tier in that mid card area right now. And
so
any one of those guys, a match against Juice Robinson, at least kayfabe wise, you would have to think that he would be worried about. So he's got a lot of guys chasing that United States Championship.
Yeah. That makes, and see, this is one of the good things about still treating wrestling as a sport. Built-in stories.
Yes.
There's built-in stories here, and just New Japan, the way they treat the product, it's just so vastly different. That's why it's hard to compare to WWE. It's not. I mean, yes, they're still in a wrestling ring. Yes, like a lot of the moves are the same, but the products are handled so vastly differently. You can use this one prolonged tournament that seems kind of confusing, like if you don't understand what's going on, and it's a lot of content, but you can follow it. It's not overly complicated, and people understand, like, oh, you get points for winning, and then like you're losing, but you got this belt. You got this title. Well,
your champion who's lost
all
the match. Yeah.
And then you can use that as an excuse. Well, I beat you at the G1. I want a title shot.
Yep. And
now you've got a built-in reason for a match, as opposed to, well, I'm just gonna have a match. Like grudges and money and stuff like that. That's what sells. It always has. Like, I don't know why people would think that that's changed.
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't care if one person says, "This is my yard," and the other person says, "No, it's not." And that's a feud. I don't care about that. I don't care about. I don't need a story about a guy not showing up to work to do his job that he's getting paid for, and therefore it's somehow a story. I don't need that. Like, show up, do your job, and build a story in other ways.
So are we going to talk a little bit about All In? That's what you wanted to talk about?
Well, before we step away from the New Japan.
Oh, you got more New Japan stuff.
Yeah, the streak has ended, yo.
Jushin Thunder Liger. Yeah, we should talk about that. It was 240 months or something?
He's wrestled at least one match every month from August 1995 to June of 2018.
That's a lot.
He did not wrestle in July. Therefore, his streak of 22 years and 11 months of continuity, or 275 months,
275,
has come to an end.
I love me some Jushin Thunder Liger.
That's impressive, man. Like
that's consistent. The model of consistency right there.
The Brock Lesnar inverse.
Yeah, one match a month for almost 23 years, almost 22-11. Is that what it was? So he could have done 23. Yeah. And he just punched out Cal Ripken style. He's like, gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking a day off, yo.
Yes.
Taking a month off.
June was a bad month for him.
June was a bad month. Yeah. He needed rest.
Yes.
Kudos to Jushin Thunder Liger, man. That's a good. You gotta love what you do to show up.
You gotta remember that was in '95, which means during that time, I think he appeared in not only New Japan, but he was in, I believe, WCW. I think he made a WWE appearance during that time. He appeared for Ring of Honor. He appeared for Total Nonstop Action. All the major wrestling promotions he appeared for during that period. So it's super impressive, and I don't think anyone's breaking that streak.
No, I doubt it, man. That's super impressive. That's a model of consistency, a guy who managed, and there's a little bit of luck involved with that, like staying injury free enough. I'm not saying it was a cakewalk. He was injury free, but there's a little bit of luck in that he didn't have a injury that was serious enough to keep him out for more than a few weeks at a time.
This is a guy who, for a majority of that time, was known as a high flyer.
Yeah,
this is a guy who was putting on like 5-star matches with Rey Mysterio and whatnot.
Some of those matches were great, man.
Yeah, you can't understate the achievement.
Yeah, I'm glad you hit on that. I saw that floating around the various message boards and interwebs, kudos to Jushin Thunder Liger for being just a boss, man, and showing up for work. So. That's an important New Japan moment. As we mentioned on our intro clips, Bob's all in. Bob's
sure am
all in. Like, where we haven't talked about, where are your seats at? Did you get good seats?
Lower bowl towards the bottom of the.
Okay.
Yeah, off the floor, but still
not bad.
Yeah.
All right, and then
the fact I got any at all, is a miracle. So
30-minute sellout. We've got
30-minute sellout with 29 minutes of that being in like a hold freaking window on the it was.
Yeah, it was not an easy thing to get. So they've started to announce some of the matches for All In. So how do you let's talk a little bit about those matches for All In and how you feel about them. So, what the first? I'm assuming the first match is the Dad. Look at that! I did it right. I'm producing correctly. It's Joey Janela
with Penelope Ford
versus Hangman Page that you were just raving about in New Japan. So, what you think, Bob? Like, are you looking forward to it?
I'm interested in seeing Joey Janela. So he's an indie guy. What I do know about him is he's considered a bit of a loose cannon, Brian Pillman Sr. character. And that is almost everything I know. There is no Wikipedia page for Joey Janela as of yet, which is
I've seen very little info on it. He's like 22, right? Yes. He's really young.
There's a fantastic, if you Google Joey Janela ESPN, there is an article ESPN did on him that talks about him like breaking stereotypes. He's I guess self-trained. He got famous with a video of him doing a wrestling move off a roof of a building. That's my knowledge on Joey Janela. I am looking forward to learning more. I would love to know more about the guy and how he got into the business and his character. Is something that I plan on doing some more research as things progress, and hopefully there will be more available on him and some more people will do interviews with the guy because I'm really intrigued. And wrestling a guy like Hangman Page, we've seen with his character on Being the Elite, he's a bit of a what term should I use? I don't want to outright call the guy crazy. That seems rude. He's a bit unhinged. That seems fair. A bit unhinged with his
touched.
Yeah, he his alleged murdering of famous dick wrestler Joey Ryan seems to point to him not really being
any time that there's
the sharpest knife in the drawer, all screws.
Anytime you can put murder with famous dick wrestler, like I'm okay with that. So, this will be interesting. I think this is kind of this could be a coming out party. People who do know him seem to say he's got a lot of tools. But he's 22. He's young. Paige will probably get the best out of him. Yeah. It'll be interesting to actually get to know him a little bit.
Cody has his own YouTube channel, and he's mentioned leading up, he's been doing a couple videos talking about the All In show, and he has mentioned that he expects this match to be like almost a show stealer, something that is going to be unexpected.
High praise.
They're going to put on an amazing match. And he's gone as far as saying he's tired of praising Hangman Page because pretty much every time they talk to somebody, him and the Bucks are telling everybody how great Hangman Page is. So,
so the next match that we have is, if you follow New Japan and Ring of Honor at all, it's two names you are going to know as opposed to Joey Janela, and that would be Marty Scurll and Kazuchika Okada. Like, holy crap!
Yeah. So remember how we were talking about Baron Corbin and Finn Balor and trying to book around you're a big guy and I'm a little guy and so we should fight like story arc. This is the proper way to do that. Marty Scurll, being told by Nick Aldis that, hey, you're a junior heavyweight, man. Okada's a big deal heavyweight. Like, you need to get in the gym and work out. And then interviewing of Okada saying that isn't Marty Scurll a light heavyweight? Like, maybe after our match he can debut on 205 Live. Like, ouch. That's some entertaining product, and that's the way to do this. And part of the reason for that is because New Japan has a heavyweight and a light heavyweight division, and they keep the wrestlers in those divisions. So when they do have a matchup, it's a big deal. Unlike WWE, where a smaller guy like Finn Balor is on the main roster, not part of 205 Live, and 205 Live don't ever cross over onto the main roster. Really.
So, Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. That's just like the story. Not to mention these two guys are gonna like they go, man.
It's the first time.
Anytime I get to see,
fought too.
anytime I get to see Okada throw that drop kick, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
Like that's what a drop kick should be.
I'm
Like
I'm just looking forward to
that's gonna be good.
Chicken wing.
That it's going to be a good match. I had seen a couple of these matches. Obviously, the final one we're going to talk. This match that I'm about to bring up, Bob, I had not seen announced.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Yep.
Holy crap! Mysterio, Phoenix, and Bandito against the Golden Elite, which is the Bucks and Ibushi. Like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Talk about a spot fest.
Talk about a super kick party.
Super kick.
Yes.
I'm all about the super kick party. No, man, that's going to be high spotathon right there.
Yeah, it's going to be
Fast and Furious. Oh man, that'll be a I'd almost hope that like open the show. That set the stage for really like the energy and the that'd be a good spot for it because it's going to be a lot of high spots, a lot of high flying action that.
It's a lot of people yet to announce matches for too. So
yeah, we don't know how many matches the card's actually going to be yet. But man, like right there, that we know, you know what you're going to get out of the Bucks and Ibushi and Ray is a legend.
This could be Ray's last independent match.
Yeah,
there's talk that there's a WWE contract awaiting him, and
he got heat for taking this match, didn't he? That was the rumor. The
rumor was they wanted to pull out of the All In in Starcast. So, and he refused, which is good on him because there's a lot of people who were looking forward and who bought tickets to see Rey Mysterio.
And if Phoenix has been around all the Ring of Honor, Lucha, indie promotions type stuff. So, people are pretty familiar with his work as well. Like that's going to be, they're going to give you quality. And everybody kind of knew this one was coming. You've got Nick Aldis and Cody for the NWA Heavyweight Champion.
Yep. And that's gonna, I mean, if it's as good, and I mean, I can't imagine it not be, but if it's as good as Nick Aldis' match against Flip Gordon, recently, it's going to be a high star mark for Meltzer, in that 5-star
42 stars. So
that's why I do a star rating.
So yeah, this is. I feel so. I know Meltzer. You got to respect Meltzer and his knowledge, and he's forgotten more wrestling than I probably ever will watch. Yep. But he's almost been a little bit of a detriment to himself in some of these really like breaking the curve and consistently he does consistently rate the New Japan matches higher, and I feel like there's a little bit at this point he does kind of elevate the New Japan matches, whereas you can see a good WWE match and because it's a WWE match, he may not in NXT. No, I don't want to. It's just one of those things. It's really hard to believe. Like I watched a lot of those, the Okada Kenny matches, right? And they were great, but to redefine the standard, I think you lose credibility. And he is one of the most credible guys around to talk about this.
I think the problem is he with the star ratings in general is people tend to box themselves in. You see. 4-star ratings, 5-star ratings, 10-star ratings. 10 stars probably the better of those situations if you're going to scale matches, but you really need like more of something like Rotten Tomatoes scoring like out of 100 because
100%.
Yeah,
80% of fans, 90% of fans.
You can look at so let's take Shawn Michaels and Undertaker for example. They had 2 matches at WrestleMania. So if you watch the first one and you're doing a 5-star rating and you're like, holy crap, that was a 5-star match. I'm going to rate that 5 stars. The next year when it comes around, you can't re-rate the match that they already had, and then they have a better match.
It would be.
You would have to break your star rating. or give it the same, but then you're not doing justice to that new match, which, that's the problem with star ratings in general.
And that's one of the reasons, like, when I try to label a match, I try to, just give it a grade, on the, A+ to, F, because you can say, well, it was an A+ match. They exceeded the previous match. It's still, they set the bar, they reset the bar for themselves. And, there's a little bit, everybody understands that, but when the match is so much better, and the 5 stars is super trusty. I mean, like, and Meltzer, it's not that these matches are bad or he's wrong. I'm just like, man, I look at that and I see him, 6 stars, 8. What's next? 8 stars, 10 stars. Like, you're like, okay, like, when is too much? Too much? Like, because he is a guy that you can go to. And he does put out like we're fans. We're giving you our opinions as fans. He's a guy who will, he'll give you his opinion, but he also does try to do more news style content where he's delivering you information, not opinion. And there's a big difference, especially I think in this day and age. And I don't want to get too far off wrestling. You see that. In programs like on TV and stuff, that are considered news, and they're actually commentary, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think people just assume because it's on a news channel, and this is not a partisan thing. It's both left and right, guys. It's both sides. They both have, like, you guys know what we're talking about. Like on the left, Rachel Maddow's commentary. On the right, like the Fox commentators are commentary, and I think that's what you see is there's that because that's blurred. The line is blurred in our just everyday society. Like, it's blurred down levels. And so, when you have that commentary, it's interesting. But Meltzer is a credible guy. Like, this is a guy who's going to give you credible information. You can go to and he's sourced. Like, you use him and you say thank you because he's been doing this. I didn't look up the date right offhand. What Meltzer's been
forever.
Yeah. What since forever. 70s, right?
Yeah.
70s. So he's been around forever.
Yeah.
And he's the guy.
Before I was born,
like,
so therefore forever.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's when he tells you it's a good match, like, you could probably trust him on a good match, but yeah, it's just when he keeps resetting that star mark, and he does it like, it's not like once every decade. Like, he's done it a few times now in the last couple of years.
That's because he reset that star mark for that Omega Rose match because he said it was on par with his only other 6-star rating, and then they had the Omega and Okada match. The second one exceeded it. So when you have a match you give 6 stars and then they rematch that and they exceed, you have to that's when you're in that issue with know where to go.
I understand. It's one of those. I think he's just better off saying, hey, 5 stars, but you need to watch this because it exceeded my last one. Mm-hmm. That's just a personal thing. But again, like, if Meltzer says it's good, it's probably going to be good. So but, I mean, we're arguing semantics, I guess.
And I'm expecting Cody and Aldis to put on like that.
It's going to be a great match. Yeah.
Both guys have been around. They've been in major companies. Both of them have been world champions.
Which
it'll be interesting to see if this is the main event. I'm curious to see if the IWGP title or the ROH title are defended on All In. I know that I believe both Lethal and Omega are part of the All In. Lethal might just be doing StarCast. I cannot remember for sure, but I do know Omega's All In. So
yeah, we'll have to see as more matches are announced. Obviously, we're going to be covering those, and a lot of what's happening at All In and with the G1 and things like that. I imagine that's going to directly carry over to what's going on next year in MSG.
Yeah.
With the Ring of Honor New Japan G1 Super Show. Now that they've booked Madison Square Garden WrestleMania weekend.
And that'll be something to talk about next week because we just so happen to be airing as tickets go on sale for Honor Club members. They go on Wednesday the 8th.
It'll be interesting. We'll keep an eye on that, probably live on the show, to see. All In did an amazing job. They sold out, just over 10,000 seats, right, in 30 minutes. And there wasn't much a secondary. There's not a huge secondary market. That was a lot of. There's some secondary, but it seems like a lot of fans got those tickets. Well, like MSG is a little different animal. It's not quite double the size. I want to say I looked it up as 18.5 for wrestling. Okay. 18.5. So you're looking at 8,500 more tickets available on WrestleMania weekend. Now, I think you're going to see, you're definitely going to see 10,000 tickets sell like immediately, because the people that are going to All In are going to go to this, right? Like they're going
to. How many of those seats do you think are going to be set aside? Because you're going to have to. Our New Japan's going to set aside seats for specific people within the company.
A few hundred. Yeah. Like I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be a significant number, but it'll be a few hundred. But so the MSG show has the issue that it's going to run directly opposite of the NXT TakeOver show, WrestleMania weekend. And that'll be interesting to see how that affects the ticket sales.
Now, Ring of Honor and New Japan are smart getting ticket sales out prior to the NXT ticket sales. Putting them on sale beforehand means that anybody who is going to choose between the two needs to choose between the two earlier, and it gives them a higher likelihood of selling tickets on opening day rather than putting ticket sales out after people have already picked up NXT tickets.
It also prevents Vince from directly undercutting them.
Yeah.
Whereas, people who are already buying these NXT ticket or the MSG tickets, Bob and I were talking, and one of the tactics Vince probably would not be afraid to use, when you talk NXT TakeOver ticket prices, you're talking standard WWE pay-per-view ticket prices. They're really close, like they're not cheap. But what if Vince were to, and again, this is Ring of Honor and New Japan have already prevented this by making the tickets available next week, basically. What if Vince were to just say, hey, ringside's $250 and we'll go down from there and we'll make, upper bowl $35.
Yep.
Like NXT would sell out in an instant, like at those ticket prices. And I wouldn't put it, above him, or, like I think that's a tactic Vince would do.
Even better, they could do the package deal where you get your ticket for WrestleMania, and you can then when you purchase your ticket, you can add a NXT ticket in the same seat for.
Whatever
the bonus is,
whatever
like
the
35, 45, whatever
you make it,
regardless of where the seats are, like that'd
be crazy.
A crazy thing to do. Yeah.
And I think Vince would be willing to take a loss, a significant loss at an NXT event, to try and really hurt, because that's now that MSG show. You got to consider that competition, like, and this is probably I know Vince considers everything competition, but this is like probably the first time in a long time a show of any level can legitimately be called competition to the WWE, because it's WrestleMania weekend. It's a big venue. It's going to be a big card. We haven't even gotten into the fact of the rumors about the WWE talent that their 90-day no compete will be up. Like if they were to not re-sign, their 90-day no compete will be up before that show.
Yep. And the Ring of Honor reaching out to guys like CM Punk and Jericho.
Pipe dream. Well, Jericho's not a pipe dream. Punk's probably a pipe dream.
I mean, they're obviously taking it seriously, and you would think the other big thing is you would think that they would have to come close to selling out MSG to be able to book the venue in the future. So if WWE did hurt their ticket sales to any kind of major extent, it could cost them, use of Madison Square Garden for future events. So,
the other thing we don't know is how much is I'm sorry, I'm blanking. the broadcast Sinclair. Sorry, I had Anthem in my head for Impact for some reason. I was just blanking. How much of a loss is Sinclair willing to take to really stick it to WWE? Because everything appears, WWE made that call and they couldn't get the date, and then Sinclair, not the Ring of Honor entity that is owned by, but Sinclair's lawyers actually got involved, and Sinclair dwarfs WWE in terms of company bankroll. So is this going to turn? Is there somebody in Sinclair that is like, I really want to see Ring of Honor succeed, and I'm going to put some muscle behind that? Because I know that's really how the Monday Night War started. I know we're a long way from there, guys. I'm not saying that's what this is the next thing, but that's how, when Ted Turner was like, yeah, I want to do it. And I know there were a lot of factors of why, WCW failed, but I firmly believe one of the major contributing factors was the merger and him losing really effective control of the business.
The merger definitely killed the. I mean, everybody had their list of things, but the fact is, if the merger wouldn't have happened, WCW wouldn't have closed. They had possible buyers in Eric Bischoff and was it Fugit Entertainment, who we ended up with, wanted to buy the company and had a deal on the table, but
Jarrett allegedly had the money. Yeah, that was the sticking point, was the deal. They didn't
want TV on the network anymore.
They didn't want wrestling.
That's why they wanted to sell it. That's why it couldn't be bought by a company that wanted to continue running WCW.
Yeah,
because without a TV deal, you can't run a television company.
So
you can't produce the content. So
I mean, yeah, there's a lot coming up in the next few months as we get into All In.
There are the rumors going around that both New Japan and Ring of Honor are looking for television deals in the U.S. for weekly programming. So, we'll have to see where that goes. And if this Madison Square Garden show helps facilitate that.
I'm also wondering how much with the Fox WWE deal, how much the MSG was facilitated by Sinclair owning so many Fox stations.
Yeah.
And they could have, in major markets around the country, preempted Smackdown and put it on at like 2 a.m. in retaliation to the WWE, because they had that option. You can preempt live national programming to put on local programming. And that was one of the, when it initially happened, it was one of the things that was speculated. Well, hey, if Sinclair's getting involved, because almost immediately there was information coming out of Ring of Honor that was like, our lawyers are looking at this, and by our, I mean it was Sinclair's lawyers are looking at this. Yep. I'm wondering how much maybe that was back channeled. Like, hey, we own, I don't remember the number, but it was a lot of Fox. It was like 40 or 50 Fox affiliates in major markets that they could preempt your show. That if you're if you're gonna play shady, we can go down that road. I'm curious. Like, maybe there was none of that. Yeah. Maybe it was just a very strongly worded letter to MSG and WWE from Sinclair's lawyers. I mean, to be a fly on that wall would have been really nice.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's something they're holding off for next time WWE tries to screw with their product. But regardless, getting this done is a huge step for both Ring of Honor and New Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we wrap up, you got to cover the sad news. Late last week, we lost 3.
Yep.
That's always sad when you see wrestlers who pass away, especially in the case of Brian Christopher. Yeah. I know. Everybody, anytime you lose somebody that you've followed as a fan or friends and family, that's tough. But when you see somebody who's having a lot of problems and then commits suicide, that's really, really, really rough. That's a tough one. And I feel like, so For those of you who may not know, Smarkdown Radio actually was a podcast for about a year, and we took some time off, and we've now rebooted and we've gone video for you guys. One of the running themes of the show was my hatred for New Jack. And I was going to try and avoid that, but did you see his tweet, Bob?
Yes, I've seen the plethora of people both like condemning him for it and applauding him for it, which is odd being the nature of said tweet.
New Jack's a piece of shit. Like, I'll just say it. Like amazing on the mic, jumping off of everything, crazy. I have a lot of good memories watching him. I can't, like, we're going to have to go back to that gimmick, man. It's going to have to be a part of the show gimmick because he's a piece of shit. He basically, like, I don't know if has there ever been any, like, allegations against Jerry Lawler about being a kid toucher? I'm asking because I've never heard that. He likes the ladies, but I've never heard that he liked underage girls.
We do know that he's like some of the younger WWE diva talent and has
but they're like,
the barely legal ones like Kelly and things of that nature.
But they were 18 or 19.
I don't know.
That's legal.
I don't know how many of them maybe showed up in Memphis and who were underage who he maybe took interest in. I don't know.
And seriously, like, it's not even like maybe, like, I've never I've never heard, like, following, and you would think, like, somebody would have done a shoot interview. Yeah. And if you know of a shoot interview, let me know, let us know, because I'd love to see that, of, like, Jerry Lawler being inappropriate. I'd love to see that. But the way New Jack came at him, God, he's a despicable human being. Not that we didn't know that already with, like, the cuttings and the mass transit incident and all the things that New Jack has done over his career, and the Gypsy Joe incident and the good Lord. But this is a new level of low. Like, and for those of you who didn't see it, he basically said that it was good that Brian Christopher had committed suicide. Jerry Lawler needed to join him, and he was a kid toucher, and it wouldn't be soon enough. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. Like, what else do you say? So, man, it's just like, man, it was a gimmick before. Like, yeah, I didn't really respect, like, his out of ring behavior because he's kind of a creep, and, like, people will tell you that. Like, people either really love him because they were good with him, or they can't stand this guy. So, fucking New Jack, just shut your mouth and go live your life. Like, fuck. I mean, don't be a scumbag. That's a scummy thing to say. So, Brian Christopher, Nikolai Volkov, who was beloved, and Nikolai's sad, but it's good to see a guy. He had a 70, nice long life, and that's good. I mean, it's not good that he passed, but it's good that he had a nice long life. And the one that I'm least familiar with probably is Brickhouse Brown. I don't remember him quite as vividly. I remember him a little bit, but again, he was 57. That's a little young. Yep. I feel bad, man, if he could have got another 10 years. But anytime the business loses somebody, it affects them. Volkov, the Hall of Famer, and there's pictures floating around about, he was amazing. Did you see was it Matt Hardy? It was one of the Hardys. I want to say it was Matt. Tweeted out a picture. His first match in WWE was against Volkov. Yeah, and he looked about 15. Yeah. Like, it was just like, oh, that's a Hardy. Oh, wow. It was Matt.
I believe,
it was Matt.
That may be one of the matches. WWE's got, like, the hidden gems section on the network, and they have, like, a bunch of these matches with guys who were, like, brought in as enhancement talent before they became, like, major stars.
Yeah, they were just
quite
working.
Quite a few Hardy and Edge and Christian matches in those.
So our thoughts and prayers. Seriously though, we got to send it out, to friends and family. Anytime you lose somebody like that, and may they rest in peace, and we'll be able to enjoy their content on the network and YouTube and videos, for years to come. So they will not be forgotten.
Yep.
So, Bob, do you have anything else before we kind of wrap up?
Nothing that I can think of as of yet. There's
there's
gonna be plenty to talk about next week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's G1's. I've got to go watch day 12 before we can really get into day 12.
Yep.
Got to catch up.
Yep.
And then
last night's
NXT tonight, and fresh batch of
Impact
stuff. I guess we could talk a little bit. Slammiversary was good, but then I watched Impact the following night and I was kind of disappointed. It was too Lucha Underground for me. And Lucha Underground, like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just, for whatever reason, I have a hard time getting into it. If I'm just catch a match here and there, it's great. Like, the in-ring stuff is really enjoyable to watch, but it's too movie produced.
Yeah. It's like the opposite of like New Japan, where New Japan is almost completely in-ring content, and then like a couple interviews at the end of the show or whatever. Lucha Underground, and it looks like maybe Impact now are going heavily on the vignettes and backstage, interviews, high production. I prefer the sports aspect of wrestling.
So I'll use it's specifically the part of Impact that lost me was when they had Sami Callihan and OVE. He was raging about his hair. He lost the match, got his head shaved, and they were trying to comfort him, for lack of a better word. And they wind up in the bathroom, and some rando comes in and ends up at the urinal in between Callahan and Crony. And Callahan loses his mind, thinks the guy's looking at his hair, and like turns away from the urinal, and it shows him like Sami Callihan pissing on this guy's leg. And I'm like, it's all right. I can't. I'm good. And then they like beat him up and shave this random guy's head. And I'm just like, yeah, I didn't need that.
They forced him into the straight edge society, huh?
Pretty much. Yeah. You CM Punk Mark. And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of backstage, like, vignette-y, like, but not just, like, it was overly produced, that Lucha Underground Hollywood style, which is, they do a really good job of it, but it's just not for me. So it's hard for me to I don't want to bag on it, because they did just come off of one of the best Impact shows I think I've ever seen. Slammiversary was a very good show. It, from front to back, it delivered a lot of different things. It made me excited enough to tune in to Impact the following week. It felt very PG-13-y. There was F-bombs that were bleeped out. It seemed like the hatred that the guys had for one of each other felt real. It felt like there were personal issues. I know we talked a little bit about the Eddie Edwards Tommy Dreamer match, and you were kind of I don't want to see another Tommy Dreamer match, but like Tommy stayed within himself. He gave you a couple of moments of like that nostalgia with the Spicoli driver and things like that, and the kendo stick and whatnot, and it allowed that to kind of be a blow off. It wasn't bad. There was nothing even like where you're like, I don't know if I want to see 40-something-year-old Tommy go out there and get abused again, because I love Tommy and I worry about his body and health.
Yeah.
So how many more times can we see it? Because he gave us everything at ECW.
Yeah.
But he really did a great job. Like, he stayed exactly within himself. Him and Eddie both worked well together. OGs and LAX was, that was a really gritty, just nasty match. And it had one of my favorite finishes where they take the belts. OGs lose. They end up taking the belts, tagging them OGs, and leaving with them, even though they aren't their belts. I love that finish in moderation, of course, yes. But every few years, yes. I love it when somebody comes out and kicks the crap out of a champion, takes their belt, and says, "Ha, I got your belt. What you gonna do about it?" Yeah. Impact was. Slammiversary was a really good show. You got to give tip the hat. They just won't die. Impact will not die. If Vince Russo and Dixie Carter can't kill that company, I don't know what's going to kill that company.
Yeah. they're an interesting position, for me at least, where they don't they do have all that backstage vignettes and things, and that is harder for me to enjoy than like the pure wrestling of like a New Japan. But at the same time, I'd prefer that over a 20-minute of somebody standing in the ring talking.
Agreed.
Like on WWE. So
don't disagree.
They're in a unique spot between those different companies, and
it's what you do.
I think you moved your leg.
I didn't do it.
Well, I didn't move.
This is the problem with live broadcast right there.
Yeah, all right. But
blame Pinkie Pie. I'll blame Kenny Omega. I think that's who that's supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Kenny. There.
He was V-triggering you.
Anyway,
yes.
So we've got a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. We hope you stick around for all of that. 2 hours almost 2 hours in the books, Bob. Not a bad first show. What do you think, man? Like, is that? Are we going to call it good?
I think we're good for this week. I think we need to start working on next week's show. So.
Yeah. So guys,
I got G1 to watch, yo.
Yeah, we got G1 to watch for like the next 92 hours, and then NXT to follow, and God only knows what else, because you can go watch your Ms. and Mrs. or whatever.
That's on the DVR.
Total insert whatever now.
Yeah, total whatever.
All right, guys, if you want to do us a solid, like the video, subscribe. It helps us so much. Share our content. Feel free to let us know what you think in the comments section. If you disagree with our opinions, please, man, throw it up there. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. And don't forget, if you want to be notified when we are going live, and we go live every single Wednesday, or when we upload some extra content, don't forget to sweet that bell, because
what you're gonna want to do, come all in, because there's gonna be some live content while we're at Starcast and whatnot, and you'll get a notification when we go live on that.
Absolutely. Yep. So for Brother Bob, I am Travis, and we will see you next week.